Hi there, my name is Mario Martinez. I work with the BI team at GAPS. I'm gonna be doing the presentation of the Latin Study Cycle BI project on their behalf. This module is about the introduction. First off, we need to talk about why we need the project like this. Well, the reason are many good benefits out of a solution like this, but if we want to make it concrete and short, we can say that we need data that is readily available in a reasonable period of time at the lower cost possible. So what does it mean? Well, that means that encompasses a few traits. Like, for example, we want to report on a data source that is unique in the sense that is the unique source of truth. Many different companies, we see a lot of spreadsheets that come from many different ways. They are basically manipulated in the way that unintended human errors are being introduced. So at the end you can get conflicting reports from different sources, right? So one of the main reasons that we need a solution like this is to have a unique source of truth. It's a unique repository that basically tells the truth about the data itself. Secondly, we need some low latency on having this data available. So we need the process in place without manual intervention, or at the least manual intervention. So the data is basically streamlined. The availability of the data is streamlined through a low latency process. Another reason is basically the reduction in cost. And there are two aspects to this. The reduction in cost could be accomplished by basically eliminating mundane tasks that developers in companies nowadays carry out, basically creating reports for the end users. This solution allows a power user to connect to the BI data source and create their own reports. And those reports can then be disseminated, and the creation of those reports should be intuitive and easy. And that's why eliminate a lot of the normal operations or development tasks that developers are carrying out today on development reports. It doesn't mean that they cannot do it. It doesn't mean that they cannot continue doing this. But the option of having a better approach is going to be there through this solution. Another reason that the cost can be reduced in the long term is that some of the source systems that are going to be feeding this solution have a pricing model that depends on, for example, connectivity, so number of connections. With this solution, we can connect to those source systems or to the back end of those source systems or through a web API of those source systems, and we can extract the data in one shot through one session, one connection, and then the data is going to be available in the data warehouse infrastructure, which is basically an in-house structure. So there is no cost involved in that. And then the user can go and connect to the data warehouse data source instead of going to those source systems that basically have those restrictions on price, or basically that collect or charge per connection. Those are the few reasons why this solution is going to be beneficial for any enterprise. Mainly because in today's date, in this day and age, the power of any enterprise is driven by the decisions they make based on the data they have, and that's in essence is the main benefits of the solution. Is basically having this data working or being prepared readily available for all different people in the enterprise make viable and informed decisions. Now, the scope of the project and the general architecture can be inferred by this diagram that I have over here. So this is basically the general, very general architecture of what we are implementing or what is being implemented so far. So in one side we got the data sources where the data is going to be extracted, right? In the slide we got silos, which could be one instance or many per because we have one instance per country. We got Dynamics AX, which right now is one instance per country. Initially we got CRM. Right now CRM is not in scope, but initially it was. But the good thing about this is that we got 3 data sources over here, but we can have n data sources, right? So those data sources, those source systems, as we call it, are going to be through the ETL process that we're going to be talking about later on, which the ETL process is represented by those lines over here. It's going to be extracting this data from those sources. It's going to be staging it first, and then it's going to be putting it into a relational database that we call the data warehouse. That is basically a collection of data marts or star schemas. And from this, in this process, from the staging to the data warehouse, we're going to be cleansing, transforming, and creating a very clean data in the right model to be able to be reported on. I mean, the structure of the data, the relational data warehouse, is denormalized by nature because it's designed for reads instead of writes and updates. Now, from the data warehouse or relational data warehouse, we can have another step which is basically the presentation layer, which is going to be given by the cubes, a collection of cubes. Why do we need this part over here? Well, because the cubes, the main reason is that the benefits that the cubes give out to the end users. First of all, the databases related to the cubes are multidimensional. They are not relational, which makes them more performant for reporting. Besides that, the cubes gives analytical powers that relational world doesn't have. Now, the end user can connect to the cubes to create their own reports, or they can alternatively connect to the data warehouse too. So we are not limiting in any regards. It's just that the connection to the cube for reporting, for self-reporting, is better. Now we can have power users that can connect to the cubes to do their own to create their own reports, or we can have the developers connected to the cube to create canned reports that can be basically just consumed by the end users. We have the alternative in there. The options are there. Now, the structure of the rest of the presentation is basically very straightforward. We're gonna go from beginning to end in the whole life cycle of what has been this project. We're gonna start from requirements. We're gonna go to the ETL, design and development. We're gonna go to the cubes, design and development. We're gonna install the BI data warehouse, relational data warehouse. Everything we're gonna do it locally. We're going to install the whole solution in my own PC so we can get a hint or insight in the process from beginning to end. At the end of the presentation, we'll have the whole walkthrough of the life cycle of this project through a very practical through a very practical way. Basically, we're going to be installing the whole solution in my PC from beginning to end. And we're going to talk about the requirements first of all, because everything is basically based or tied out to the requirements.